I'd like to share some concerns I have about all the people who are coming to me saying that they've been on ketogenic diets for extended periods. Now, let me be absolutely clear. There's nothing wrong with being ketotic or being on a ketogenic diet for limited periods of time, and let me tell you why. So, first of all, think of being ketotic as like having a stress response. A stress response is a natural physiologic process, right? If something dangerous or life-threatening is about to happen to you, you want to have the increase in heart rate, blood pressure, alertness for safety. So a stress response is a good thing. It's a protective mechanism. But what if you had the stress response 24/7 for extended periods, months or even years on end? That's what happens, right, when people are stressed to high levels, like a grief, a death of someone close to you, financial ruin, divorce. And when stress goes on chronically, bad things happen. It gives rise to heart disease, cancer, diabetes, other bad effects, dysbiosis, it changes bowel flora. So chronic stress, so the stress response acutely is a good thing. It's a normal protective physiologic response. Chronically, for prolonged periods, it's a very destructive process. Ketosis is the same way. For brief periods of times, up to weeks, it's healthy. It's wonderful. It helps accomplish such things as accelerate weight loss, accelerate reversal of type 2 diabetes. It drops hemoglobin A1C faster, reverses insulin resistance. It helps reverse fatty liver, often to normal. Reduces blood pressure, reduces triglycerides. Lots of wonderful effects of being ketotic. Problem: being ketotic too long, being on a ketogenic diet too long, leads to adverse effects. Now, here's an area where we have good confidence in knowing that prolonged chronic ketosis is bad for you, because there are kids who have intractable seizures, grand mal seizures, unresponsive to drugs or sometimes even surgery, and they're put on a ketogenic diet. So, of course, very low carb, very high fat. And they have about an 80% reduction in seizures. It's very successful. But kids who remain on a ketogenic diet for a year, 2 years, 3 years, start to show bizarre effects. They have at least a tenfold increase in kidney stones, both calcium oxalate kidney stones and uric acid kidney stones. Now, these are kids who aren't supposed to get stones at all, so the risk in adults is likely substantially even higher. Kids have stunted growth. They often fall in the 10th percentile. They don't grow normally. They're all real short. Now, you and I are not growing, so that's not a concern. But the fact that kids fall off the growth curve and experience a stunted growth process suggests there's something fundamentally wrong with the diet. And no one knows what that is exactly. And then there are the metabolic distortions of dysbiosis. That is, when you fail to take in prebiotic fibers and don't make other efforts to restore or maintain healthy bowel flora, weird stuff happens. And we've seen this happen over and over again in people on ketogenic diets, Atkins, ultra-low-carb diets, etc. And people who do this, typically at about a year, 2 years or so, sometimes longer, HDL cholesterol drops. Triglycerides start to climb back up, even if they've dropped substantially at the start. Small LDL particles on lipoprotein analysis increase. Postprandial after meal distortions develop. Insulin levels go higher. Insulin resistance gets worse. Fatty liver can come back. Blood pressure goes up. You start to get constipated. You develop diverticular disease and diverticulitis. And down the road, colorectal cancer. So these are not small matters. These are big deals. And this is what happens when you follow a ketogenic diet chronically. Now, some of this can be addressed simply by paying attention to dysbiosis and cultivating healthy bowel flora with, for instance, a high-potency multi-species probiotic, lactate-fermented foods, and prebiotic fibers. But a lot of people on a ketogenic diet have not been told this. They've assumed or dismissed the importance of bowel flora, which is very foolhardy, because you could end up in, who knows, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years with a nice case of colon cancer. And one of my fears is that when this starts to happen, when the hundreds of thousands or millions of people following these diets develop bad effects such as colon cancer and other metabolic distortions and diverticular disease, conventional thinkers will say, see, we told you all those fad diets don't work and they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to label more rational approaches like our approach, the undoctored or the wheat belly approach, as just a fad when it's not. We have already incorporated, we've accommodated to the reduction in prebiotic fibers by adding back prebiotic fibers, and we don't stay ketogenic for extended periods. So being ketotic, following a ketogenic diet is fine. But just like a stress response, don't do it too long. Nobody knows how long a time is too long, but I think it's probably a matter of weeks, and then you should go off. Now becoming non-ketotic is as easy as having more protein, having maybe an extra few bites of steak or fish or chicken, or having a glass of wine. For many of us, that's all it takes to break the ketotic process. We're not talking about going back to cupcakes and candy. It just means not purposely maintaining around-the-clock, 24/7, 365 days a year ketosis, because bad things will happen if you do that.